In episode 6, Annabeth is understandably a little shook from being brought back from the dead, but nobody has time to talk about it because they have to get the hell out of there. And as they're making their way through, Annabeth shows some soup powers. She's able to correctly predict where they're supposed to go, and not only that, she correctly predicts when someone is going to show up to help them, and that person ends up being Sam. He showed up at the nick of time, he's got a van, and the group heads out. But the fact that Annabeth had these powers doesn't go unnoticed. When they do get in the van, though, they have to figure out where exactly they're going to go. Sam gets filled in on exactly who Annabeth is. He's very surprised. Meanwhile, in the backseat, you've got Annabeth and Marie getting reacquainted, if you will. As Marie is apologizing to Annabeth for getting her caught up in all of this, most of them are trying to process the fact that Marie just brought back somebody from the dead. I mean, everything that Cipher said about her powers and her being super incredibly powerful is true. The group, however, has to decide where they're going to go, and when the word Canada gets mentioned, Annabeth starts freaking out. Because she doesn't know who any of these people are, and now they're talking about going to a foreign country. She wants no parts of it. She wants out of that vehicle, but Marie is able to calm everybody down and say, no, we can't just do that. First of all, we have to find a safe space to go. We have to lay low for a little bit, and then we have to figure out where we're going to actually go. In the morning, they end up finding an abandoned library that they can hunker down and figure out stuff, get their bearings together, all of that crap. The place has plenty of burned books, but it also has a change of clothes, which is going to be key for Annabeth, who's covered in her own blood. While some of the members of the group are looking over the clothes pile, Jordan is finally able to talk to Marie about what she witnessed, because in Jordan's mind, everything has changed. And in Marie's mind, nothing has changed. She feels like she was used by Cipher, like Cipher slit her sister's throat just to see if Marie could, in fact, bring her back from the dead. These two kind of go back and forth, with Jordan trying to tell Marie, you were one of the most powerful soups out there. You're bringing people back from the dead, and Marie just not willing to accept that as reality. After the conversation with Jordan, Marie once again tries to talk to her sister, this time about the fact that Annabeth has suddenly got powers. And as it turns out, Annabeth does, obviously, but she's been keeping it from everybody. She has no idea when she was shot up with Compound V, but essentially, she has a spidey sense. The conversation, though, goes from being kind of normal with just Kate eavesdropping to the side to then becoming pretty contentious, because Annabeth still holds a lot of animosity towards her sister. She also wants to get back to her normal life, and she wants to check on Aunt Pam. But Marie says, no, you can't. It's not safe. But that's when Annabeth hits Marie where it really hurts. She tells her, every bad thing that's ever happened to me is because of you. You're the danger. And then she just walks off. While those two were talking about that, Sam and Emma went off to go find food, but what they also found was a phone. That did work, but Emma couldn't remember Polarity's phone number, so she did the next best thing. She hopped on the internet and went to Instagram. She messaged Harper saying, you got to get in touch with Polarity. Here's where we're at. We're desperate. We need help. And then she waited for the cavalry to show up. But the cavalry doesn't show up. Vicor does. After Annabeth has a little bit of a panic attack and Marie comes to her aid and helps her with a breathing technique that they've had since they were kids, it seems like everything's going a little bit better than their last conversation. Annabeth gets a feeling that something bad's about to happen, and that bad thing is Vicor. And Vicor was able to find them because of Emma's message to Harper. That's because after Cipher got word about the escape from Elmira, he freaked out a little bit, but he figured that they would eventually contact Polarity. So he went to Polarity's place, and once Polarity woke up, he explained to him, all right, bud, Marie Monroe is going to contact you, and you're going to find out where she is. And Polarity didn't want to help this guy out, but Cipher did the same thing to Polarity that he did to Jordan, basically controlling him, thus controlling the conversation to Harper and finding out exactly where they were hidden. Then he just sent Vicor to bring Marie back. And Vicor starts tearing through the kids. But that's when they actually get saved by Zoe Newman. As Vicor is outside, ready to grab Marie and take her back to Cipher, Zoe comes out of nowhere, and she uses those snake-like things to just absolutely eviscerate Vicor's skull, killing him instantly. And that's when Stan Edgar shows up. As Stan is introducing himself to Marie and Kate is telling everybody, yeah, that guy used to run Vought, Stan starts trying to get Marie to come with him. And Marie says, all right, I'll come if we all can come. And Stan is willing to make that trade-off. He doesn't want any of the other kids. He really just wants Marie. And one of the reasons why Marie feels comfortable going is because Stan introduced himself and said, I believe you know my daughter, Victoria Newman. And Zoe Newman is really excited to meet Marie, saying, yeah, my mom talked about you. So in a way, Marie feels comfortable going with these two as opposed to just, well, the alternative, which is nothing. Stan ends up taking the group 90 feet underground to a fallout shelter that he's been living in with Zoe. And as they're heading down the elevator, Marie tells Zoe, you know, your mom shared her powers with me, and the fact that we had the same power, it made me feel special. I'm really sorry what happened to her. Once they get to the bottom floor of the bunker, Stan tells everybody that before Victoria died, she had mentioned Marie, and it piqued his interest. He was then able to locate Marie and the group because Vicor had a tracking chip, and he figured that Cipher would send his goon to collect Marie, which he did. He then instructs Zoe to get the kids all prepared and comfortable, and one of those is going to be getting a shower because they smell like hell. After Emma gets a shower, she comes out, and Sam is waiting to also use a shower, but Sam also uses this opportunity to apologize to Emma for just being a shitty person for the past year to her. Emma does seem to appreciate the apology, but there is still a lot of sexual tension between these two. It doesn't boil over, but it gets close until Sam eventually turns around and goes to head towards that shower. Right down the hall, you've got Zoe showing Annabeth a room, and it turns out Annabeth has something that Zoe always wanted, and that's a sister. And as Zoe is saying, yeah, it's so cool, you have a sister, and you're able to grow up together and do things, it makes Annabeth actually realize how lucky she is to have Marie. A lot of the animosity seems to be going away as she recounts a cool story about trick-or-treating with Zoe. But Marie is hearing none of this because her, Jordan, and Kate are at the kitchen where Stan Egger is making them food but also explaining the whole Project Odessa. He tells them that Thomas Godolkin had this project for years. The goal of this was to create God-tier superheroes. And it turns out there were dozens of failed subjects, but only 2 of them made it. The first one was Homelander, and the second one was Marie. And up until this point, she had denied being special, being different, being more powerful. But this puts her on the same playing field as Homelander. And she doesn't take kindly to that either because she views Homelander as a psychopath. She doesn't want to be compared to him at all, but once they actually sit down, Stan reassures Marie that she isn't like Homelander mentally. He wouldn't let her into his house if she was. Jordan then chimes in and says, okay, but what is Cipher's endgame? To which Stan says, well, Cipher built his entire career on the back of Thomas Godolkin's work, but they differed in one key area. Godolkin thought he could control soups, and Cipher knew that that would never be the case. What Cipher actually wants is soup supremacy, a world with nothing but soups. He tells Marie, only a few people know about you and Project Odessa and you surviving and your power ability. It's really just, at this point, me and Cipher. But he then goes into how fixated Cipher is on the work of Thomas Godolkin, saying how Cipher rebuilt all of Godolkin's work after the fire that destroyed it all and reportedly destroyed Thomas Godolkin. I mean, no body was found, and there was always a rumor going around Vought that Godolkin survived, but Stan never believed that. And that's when the 3 of them think, wait, there was a fire, and there's a guy that's in a hyperbaric chamber that's charred up. That could possibly be Thomas Godolkin. The guy that Cipher's saying is his dad might not be his dad at all. And when Stan hears that, it changes everything. I mean, he gets up from the table, and he leaves, going to his office and looking through some files. Stan's original idea was just to give Marie some safe haven, and once he regains control of Vought, which he's very, very confident will happen, then she would be loyal to him. But now, with Godolkin possibly alive, no, this changes everything for him. Marie, though, follows Stan to his office, and he actually hands one of the files to Marie so she can look at some of Thomas Godolkin's original work. But what he tells her is, if Godolkin's alive, he might be able to stop Homelander. Marie then heads to bed where her and Jordan discuss everything that happened that day, and Everything does, in fact, make sense with the whole Thomas Godolkin thing, but they figure, all right, we'll just figure it out in the morning. But that night, Marie can't sleep. She's slowly coming to the realization that she is, in fact, more powerful than all of her friends combined. She's got to do something then. So that night, she gets up in the middle of the night. She goes to check on her sister, who's sleeping soundly, and then she goes to leave. But as she's leaving the property, she gets stopped by Kate, who says, I think you can help me. I think you can use your powers to actually heal my powers, and thus, I can help you control Cipher. But Marie doesn't say anything to that offer. She just continues to walk, and Kate figures, all right, then I'll follow you. And as for Cipher, once he found out that Vicor came up short, if you will, he took his anger out on Polarity. He didn't handle it well, and using his powers, he was able to get Polarity to slap the shit out of himself. But he also revealed his idea for Godolkin U. He told Polarity, this whole idea of God U has been watered down. We're accepting anybody. So after I'm done, we're going to eliminate 75% of the student body. Only the strong will survive. And by eliminate, you figure he's talking about killing them off. And Polarity's like, dude, you're nuts. But Cipher doesn't care. And then he tries one more time to use his powers to get Polarity to slap himself, only this time Polarity fights back, which is a big surprise to Cipher, and Polarity uses his powers to throw Cipher out of the building. But once he goes to check down below on if Cipher survived, Cipher's just gone.
Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel and subscribing to my Patreon. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought it sucked. If you left a comment, I don't get back to you. I usually don't check the comments unless they're like a super comment. Also, if you don't see the next video up on the end screen, not to worry, it'll be up in a day or two.